Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Flowering vines are a great way to screen an unwanted garden feature or to beautify an arbor. Today we're going to plant some. Also, systemics give the gardener a way to protect a plant from insects without frequent pesticide applications. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Joellen Diamond. Joellen is a TSU Extension Agent in Tipton County, and Mr. D will be joining us later. All right, Joellen, we have vines here.
Vines.
We want to try to cover this fence with these vines.
With the vines, okay.
All right.
And we're next to the garden here, so we want to attract some butterflies
Sure.
and some bees and help pollinate the garden. So we want something that's going to bloom throughout the growing season. And that's what you need to consider when you are selecting a vine.
Okay.
What is the vine's purpose in your garden? I mean, is it supposed to be just cover a trellis or an entryway? Is it going to be around a feature, or is it going to be a standalone plant? And what are you trying to do? Are you trying to screen something? Do you need an evergreen vine? There are several evergreen vines out there. Carolina jasmine is one, and the Clematis Armand is another one. But that's not our focus here. Our focus is to have blooms as much of the season as we possibly can. So we have chosen two vines. One's native is a honeysuckle, and this is a red blooming variety that will bloom the majority of the summer.
Okay.
And it's sempervirens, and I believe this is Mr. Wheeler. And this one is a clematis that blooms a large part of the summer. It may not bloom in the very heat of the summer, but it will when it's not really, really hot outside. It'll bloom before and then after it.
Okay.
So, and it's a nice purple color that will attract birds and butterflies and
it is
bees.
pretty.
And this is called Jack Maney. And so we'll plant several of these here around the garden, and hopefully it will attract the bees that we are looking for our vegetables.
Okay. The vines, need a lot of help as far as growing. I mean, you had to put fertilizers or,
Yes, you need to treat them just like you would any of your perennials.
Okay.
Because they are perennial, they will lose their leaves. These will lose their leaves, but the stems will still be there. We're going to plant them. They're going to need well-drained soil.
Yeah.
And I know we have a problem with that in this area, so we're going to add some amendment to raise up the area that we're going to plant them so we know that they will be well-drained. And then I would put a little bit of fertilizer with them.
Okay, so you would, okay.
As when you plant them. And about once a year, fertilize them with a slow-release fertilizer. In the fall, I'd let them do what they're going to do, and I would let them go through the winter, and in the spring is when February is when I'd start looking at trimming them back if I was going to trim them.
Okay.
Okay. This one's already staked a little bit, and that's good. We'll leave that in the ground till next year so it can start growing up and on the fence. Once it goes on the fence, the next year, this next spring, we can take these off.
Okay. So it's just there for support?
Just there for support now, because otherwise they'd be falling everywhere.
Sure.
That's because it's a vine. And we want to put it close to this area. And you notice we have Bermuda in here. We need to get the Bermuda grass out. So we'll since we don't have any more time, we're going to dig it out.
So how big of a site are we looking to prepare?
You want to go twice the width of 2 to 3 times the width of the plant, the pot. We have a 1-gallon container, so we're making a much larger hole than we need.
Okay.
Because we want to loosen up all of this soil so that the roots of the plant have somewhere to grow into. This soil is not as good as the bed we planted earlier.
No.
It's got some
It's a big difference.
pretty big difference in the soil structure. That's just why we're going to amend it. because this is very tight, pore spaces for the air and water movement and the roots to grow into. There's not a lot of room here for roots.
I do see a few worms in there.
That is good.
So that's a good thing. Yeah. It's nice big clogs in there. So now we're about to add our soil.
Add some potting soil. Well, it's like a little bit of an amendment for this. Try to make it more well drained. Get the roots up above the ground a little bit.
All right. And say when, okay?
When? You really only want to put about 20% amendment in your bed. If you do more than 20% of an amendment in the bed, you're really changing the soil structure too much.
Okay.
And then you're creating a bowl that water will stand in, and that's going to defeat the purpose of us loosening it up for the roots.
Because we don't want the feet to hang out in the water, right?
No, we don't want the idea is to get them a little bit of good drainage. Mix up all the clods.
Now, Joellen, I think you've done this a time or two, right?
Time or two.
All right.
And now we'll just check.
So what do you think about the root system?
Root system is really nice. It's a little bit tight. We'll scratch that up a little bit. I want to check for the height.
All right.
And it is above the soil surface existing, so that's about where we want it. So now, since it's got some circling roots here, we're gonna just loosen these up a bit so that it'll stop circling.
Okay. And while you do that, Joellen, I'm gonna take wheat seed here.
Oh my,
Take
yes
that
it
out of there.
does. Root and all, very good.
Yeah.
Yay. And we'll look to see where the vines are growing, and since they're going this way, so since we wanted to climb the fence, we're gonna head those that way. And we will, you'll hold that,
Okay.
I will fill it in. Now what we want to do is put some mulch around this to retain soil moisture. First we're going to put down some slow release fertilizer like this Osmocote to give it a little bit of food throughout the growing season. And remember, you don't have to sprinkle this too far because the roots aren't very far out, so you don't want to over fertilize. That should do for now.
Okay.
And then we will put some mulch down. Now I will definitely cover all the area that we have dug up, and I'm only going to put it around the plant less than an inch, and then about an inch or so around the rest of the plant. I don't want to smother it. I just want to help retain the moisture in the soil. And this will also give us a line to keep the Bermuda grass away from it, so it'll have plenty of room to grow. When it starts to grow, just keep taking these towards the fence because they want to catch the fence. And they'll keep growing up on the fence. And as you see these, then you can put these behind here and keep training it towards the fence. And there you have it.
All right, Joellen, we appreciate that.
You're
We'll get
welcome.
to see what it looks like later in the season, huh?
I can't wait.
All right.
Today we're going to be talking about selecting the right tool for the job. The job we're talking about today is going to be pruning. With pruning, you have either a saw or pruner options. The pruners are going to offer a cutting action, whereas the saw is going to be sawing motion. We have larger versions of these in the loppers and the pole saw, and if the job is big enough, you may need to resort to a chainsaw. If you're going to be using a chainsaw, make sure that you have the proper safety equipment. On this tree, we've identified two issues that we're going to deal with. A smaller branch down here is really for aesthetics. We're going to take our small pruners. The diameter of this branch is small enough to where our hand pruners can get them. You just want to make a cut close to the base of the branch. Now our second branch is a little bit higher. Before we make our cut, we're going to put on our safety glasses, and I've selected the pole saw for this task. I'm going to get close to the base of the branch and begin your cuts. I don't want to get on a ladder and use a hand saw. I'd rather stay firmly on the ground and cut from the ground. Right, now that you've made your cut, you can take your branch and safely dispose of it. And we've seen now in two different situations how with a small branch you can use the hand pruners, with a larger branch up higher you may use the pole saw. Selecting the right tool for the job is important in pruning.
All right, Mr. D, let's talk about systemic insecticides. We're popular now these days. A lot of people are using them. Some folks are not using them. So let's talk about them.
You know, they're just they're another tool, and in my opinion, they're a very useful tool. You know, systemic insecticides are highly soluble in water, so that plants can take them up through their vascular tissue, and it enables you to be able to treat extremely large trees that you can't spray. It also is very selective about the insects that it kills. You know, you don't broadcast it out there, so it's not killing a lot of different insects, and it's killing primarily the insects that suck sap, and you know, aphids and scale insects.
Scales,
It's really good on those type of insects. So, you know, when you're in a situation like that, and that's what you need, then I don't think you can go wrong by using systemics. Many of them will only take, you know, you'll only need one treatment a year to break the life cycle. But they've been around for a long time. Some of them are, you know, more toxic, have higher mammalian toxicity than others, and so as with any pesticide, be sure that you follow, read very carefully and follow the label instructions when applying these products. Some of them, the mammalian toxicity is not any worse than some of the other pesticides. But they're a very, very useful tool. I believe in using technology, and systemic insecticides are a product of research, you know, years and years of research and technology, and I believe in using it. And the University of Tennessee also agrees with me.
Yes.
As do other research-based universities.
Widely recommended.
institutions.
Widely recommended.
Very, very widely recommended.
Now, what are some of those systemic insecticides?
Imidacloprid is one. I've got a list of them here. Let me make sure.
And that's probably one that most folks would know.
Right.
And Joellen, you're probably familiar with a lot of these as well, right?
Some of them, yes.
Some of the more common ones is orthene. Acephate has some systemic activity. Imidacloprid, Merit, then Safari are some of the more common, you know, products that are out there, insecticides that are out there. The active ingredient in Safari is what?
Dinotefuran.
You said that real good. Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
familiar with it.
And then imidacloprid, Bayer's tree and shrub insect control, and then the Merit is also imidacloprid also. And then orthene, I still think orthene or acephate does most of its killing by, it stinks so bad, it smells so bad, I think they just die. You know?
It does, it smells bad.
It really has a bad smell to it.
Now, can we explain again to the homeowners and how do these products work?
The way they work is you put them on the ground, you'll mix them with water according to label directions, spray, or do you know of any granulars? There are some granulars.
There are some.
So the granular ones you will sprinkle on the ground according to the label direction under the plant. When it rains or when you water it, they are readily water soluble, so they dissolve in water, and the roots then take the product up and it goes through the vascular system, and then it's in the sap. That insecticide is in the sap of the plant, and you know, you're good. The things you need to be careful about using these under, and again, it's not going to be on a label, but if you're using them on tree fruits and tree nuts that we eat,
right.
You know, you wouldn't want to do that. There are some products within the commercial pecan industry, systemics that are labeled for use in pecans. However, they'll tell you not to use that product after August 1st or something like that. And that way, because of that, that product is completely gone by harvest time. So, you've got harvest withdrawal on those kind of products. But again, be careful if you have fruit trees and fruit plants around where you're putting these products. You need to be very careful with that. But they work really well. The plant takes it up. You need to make sure that if it's raining, if you've got a rain event or getting plenty of rain, then you don't have to do a lot of watering. But if you put it out there and you're not getting any rain, then you do need to irrigate. You need to water them in to make sure.
Right.
But the label will tell you that.
Yeah, the label will tell you
The
that.
label will tell you.
You can definitely do that.
Just read the
And the Bayer product, comes in a liquid or granulated form.
Both ways.
Both ways.
Yeah.
And I've actually used both.
Yeah. Either one works.
they work.
Either one works.
Well, since we're talking about systemics, are there any systemic fungicides that you may know about?
Some of the newer fungicides have some systemic activity, and we used to say, always as a young extension agent, we learned that fungicides were preventative in nature.
Yeah,
They were
that's
protective
right.
treatment, and you had to have it out there. When the spore landed on the plant, it had to land on some fungicide and die. And if you didn't have that, it wouldn't work. But some of the newer fungicides out there do have some kickback activity, some systemic activity. It'll move. Some of them only move within the leaf. They won't move within the total plant, but they may move from one part of the leaf to the other or within the leaf surface. It's not as systemic as insecticides and herbicides, not at that point yet, but there is some kickback activity on some of the newer fungicides.
Okay. I wonder if any of those are available to homeowners.
They are.
Yeah, the systemic fungicides.
I don't know.
I think
I think
some of the, and I'm not going to mention the trade name, it's not fresh on my mind, but I think some of the new ones have a little bit of kickback activity. If it says it has some kickback activity, that means it's some systemic activity.
Okay. And you're familiar with those products too, I'm sure, aren't you?
Yeah,
Joel?
but I like him. I have the commercial ones, and I used to use that in the flower beds.
Right, yeah.
And they would, it took just a very little bit, but it made a big difference.
Okay.
They did work.
And I guess too, using the fungicides, you don't have to worry about beneficials or anything like that, right? Because it's not going to do any harm to them.
They don't have any,
no activity
they're
on them.
pretty safe.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about killing beneficial insects.
Right, the fungicides. Okay. All right, Ms. D, we definitely appreciate that information.
Okay.
All right.
I have just moved up this plant. It's a digitalis, but I also have 3 or 4 different colors of digitalis. So in order to remember which color and cultivar this is, I use tags. You can use, this is a plastic tag that can be reused or it can just move along with the plant. This is also an option, a popsicle stick. As long as you can write on it, this you might need to use a marker. With these, I use a pencil. And what I'll do is just write the scientific name on there. You don't have to do that, but I do. And then I'll put the common name. This is Camelot Peach. Most important to me, I like to keep information on my tag. I will put the date that it was seeded and then the date that I up-potted, which on the back I will put a T for transplant, and then I will put today's date. I also keep this tag, it just kind of lives with the plant all the way through. I will, when I plant it in the ground, I will set it in the ground beside that plant, and then I will put a P on the tag, put the date it was planted, and I actually can keep these, and it gives me a record of how long it took from the plant to be seeded to when I actually planted it in the ground.
All right, this is our Q&A session. And Joellen, you help us out, all right?
Sure.
All right, here's our first viewer email. Is there such a thing as shade-tolerant roses? Joellen.
No.
And this is from Mr. Joe here at Memphis. So, Joellen.
I've never heard of a shade-tolerant rose.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, I have a shady area, and I have roses there. They don't bloom very well.
Yeah.
They're green. I mean, it's enough light that they're
Yeah.
green, but they're not producing flowers because the roses like sun,
Full sun.
lots of sun.
Yeah, yeah. In the shade, yeah, I can see green foliage and I can see, smaller blooms, but yeah, full sun.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, full sun. All right, Mr. Joe, there you have it. So here's our next question. And guess what? This is a letter. And this letter is from Mr. Jesse in Millington. All right, let me get this open here. All right. His question is this. I have a problem with my pink flowering dogwood tree. It is about 2 years old and gets plenty of sunshine in a good drainage area. Last week it was leafing out and looked healthy. Then this week it suddenly looked like it was dying. It just seemed to be attacked from the top. I don't want to lose the tree. What is going on? So what do we think about that, Joellen? He doesn't want to lose that tree, that flowering pink dogwood.
The one thing that I see is sunshine, and dogwoods are not known for liking a lot of sunshine. They are understory trees. So, and based on the pictures of the damage that I saw, I would say that it's got in too much sun. I would say it would do better with some more shade, especially afternoon shade, and it might that might help to keep it going.
I would agree. Yeah, based on the way it looked in the picture, it just looked like it was just sitting out in the yard with no shade. Again, understory tree has to have shade.
Yes. Sorry about that, but yeah, it looks like it's young, and he could move it to where it would.
It did look
I
relatively
saw
young.
some other trees in the picture, so maybe they're can move it closer to the tree line or some trees that are already there.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely has to have shade.
Shade.
All right, Mr. Jesse, did you have anything you want to add to that, Mr. D? I see you looking.
Maybe a little umbrella or something. Beach umbrella. How about that? Over the,
To give it a little shade?
Give it a little shade. No, I don't have anything on that.
All right. So here's our next question. What is a good grass that will grow in shade? So what do y'all think about that one? A good grass that will grow in shade.
Monkey grass, liriape. That's not really a grass, but
Yeah,
Good grass.
that would work.
some of the fescues do better.
Some of the fescues, the 5-star blends, of the tall fescue will grow in shade. Okay. Still need some sun, about 4 hours of filtered sun.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there are some zoysias, out there that can actually tolerate some shade. They still need sun. Again,
need
about
some
4
sun.
hours of about filtered sun. But to put on my Booker T. Lee hat, since he is the grass guy, Palisade has, real good shade tolerance. Royal has real good shade tolerance. There's Zenith, Myers, which you can find here in the local Shelby County area, have real good shade tolerance. But again, that being said, you still need to have about 4 hours of filtered sun.
Yeah. And there's a new popular thing to do is just have moss under the tree. There's a lot of very decorative mosses that people are using that make it look green, but it's actually a moss
And you don't have to mow it.
and don't have to
True.
mow it.
Yeah, you just keep the leaves off of it.
So, I mean, it just depends on how deep of shade that you have is whether you can have grass or not.
That's right. I would agree with that. But you are right, Mr. D. I mean, the
Ground
rye
covers.
It's a ground cover.
Yeah,
Go with
it
the
is.
ground
It
covers.
takes
And,
the
That's right.
If it's a really shade, you don't get 4 hours of sunlight. That puts you into the mosses or ground covers.
Yeah, exactly
pretty
right.
much it.
All right. So here's our next viewer email. I have a shrub with 2 different types of leaves on it. It looks like another plant has attached itself to it. What is it? And this is from Natalie from East Memphis. So what do you think that is, Joella?
Well, based
2 different.
Based on the pictures, yes, I would say that they were 2 different plants growing together. And one looks to me to be a euonymus, and the other one looks like a cleyera of some type.
I would agree with that.
And I think they're just growing together. And they're both woody, so that they look somewhat alike with their green colors, but definitely leaf shape and everything else is completely different.
Completely
But they
different.
like the same environment, so I mean, either you can let them live there, with each other, or take one of them out.
And I'd recommend taking the euonymus out because cleyera doesn't get
Euronymous scale. That's right.
You know.
That's right.
That's
yeah,
true.
I would definitely do that. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, two different
different
types
plants.
of leaves, so it's going to be two different plants.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, Euronymous and Cleyera. But yeah, Euronymous out. Yeah, you won't have to worry about using those systemic insecticides
That's right.
that we
That's
talked about
right.
earlier. You know, with
Exactly
those
right.
scales. So, and they're both evergreen.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is also confusing to,
Yeah.
to folks. But
That's right.
Yeah. The different leaf shapes, they are different plants.
Different plants. All right, Nellie, there you have it. Different plants. All right, Joel and Mr. B, that's all we have time for today.
Good deal.
All right.
Thank you.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is questions@familyplotgarden.com. And the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee, 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. To get more information on vines or systemic insecticides or anything else we talked about on today's show, go to familyplotgarden.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.